So local reporters document how the state's ongoing drought is impacting communities and environments along the 700 miles of the Upper Rio Grande. Our Land senior producer Laura Pasca sat down with Source New Mexico reporters Danielle Prokop and Diana Cervantes to discuss their new series, Crisis on the Rio Grande.
Welcome you to 14 stories across 700 miles of the Rio Grande. This is great work and I am really enjoying these stories as they're continuing to roll out. So thanks for being here with me today.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you so much, Laura.
So Danny, let's start with you. In a nutshell, and I know this is a big ask, but in a nutshell, what is the crisis on the Rio Grande?
The crisis on the Rio Grande is that it's not a wild river in more and more places. There are places where the river is breaking, where it is evaporating to sand and salt, and it is going away. And I think that we were able to spend time with people who remembered a very different river just a generation ago in Texas, seeing similar signs of the river they lost happening in New Mexico and even further upstream in the headwaters of the river.
Yeah. So Diana, your images that I've seen so far of the river are really beautiful and, sort of you evoke the landscape, but I'm really smitten with so many of the people you photographed along the way. And I was wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing your screen and introducing us to some of those people, telling us a little bit about some of those folks you met along the way.
Of course. Let me just quickly share my screen. So one of those wonderful people is, as you see here, is Estela Padilla. She grew up around the river and she has seen that same river dry up, and now it only exists in her memory. And so it's kind of a cautionary tale of what can happen for the rest of us that are upstream. And her memories of the river are sort of a lamentation, as she calls it. And one of the beautiful things she says about it is that the river is like the circulatory system of the body. If you cut it out, you die. And so we gleaned a lot from her. So she was one of those very special people. We then moved along to meet John Sproul, who is the father of the Bosque. He is taking care of the Rio Bosque Wetlands Park in El Paso. And this past summer, because of the drought, they had to hand water a lot of trees. We also spoke with the amazing Phoebe Suina, a hydrologist with Cochiti Pueblo. And speaking with her, it was evident that she lives with this very painful and stark presence, which is the Cochiti Dam and what happens when humans interfere in the wild spaces. So it was wonderful to learn from her. We also met with the amazing Wesley No, who I call the lone fighter for the Oxbow that is in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Not many people know of it, but he's doing his water studies out there. And so he took us to some parts of it. And it was wonderful to see how these wild places can be so special and hopefully motivate us to also take care of them. We spent some time with folks from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service attempting to save some of the endangered silvery minnow. Only 4 people fighting along the stretch of a long river to save these little guys, and it was just heart-wrenching. Thomas R. Deacon, who's not pictured here, said something very powerful about the work they're doing. They love what they're doing. They're trying to do the best they can. But he said it's like slapping a Band-Aid on a severed limb. So it's giving us the scope of what they're undertaking. Not only has climate change impacted the native spaces or the environment, but it also has impacted daily life activities, especially in Carnuel. Here is this group of individuals who go up and bless the Ojo Spring, and because of drought they haven't been able to actually make the full trek because it's so dangerous to do it in the heat. So we're seeing how even climate change is affecting native traditions. And in Colorado we spoke with Kyler Brown, who understands the impact of agriculture that has on the environment, and he is trying to do his best to implement greener practices in his day-to-day ranching, even while he tries to make a living by even cutting down things that they use for crops, such as barley for the Coors beer. And then we spoke with the amazing Linda Schoonover, who we spent time with her out on her farm, and she has also cut back on the amount of cattle she raises she's seen a lot of impacts on the environment, especially in the San Luis Valley. Um, and she learns a lot from the animals she cares for. One of the beautiful quotes she said was that animals have so much to teach us. She said, if you ever look in a cow's eyes or a horse's eye, you see a wisdom there that you know that they know something you don't. So this is her out in her field. But yeah, these are just some of them. This is just touching base. There's a lot more, and I hope you guys can tune into the stories that Danny and I have poured our hearts into.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing those. It's lovely to see those people, and really, you're so talented, Diana.
Laura.
So last summer, river drying moved into the Albuquerque Reach, and I think, as you both well know, the river has dried south of Albuquerque for many years, and when that drying came into the Albuquerque Reach, more people started paying a little bit more attention. But I was wondering what struck each of you about covering that, because I know that you were here on the ground when that was happening last summer.
It's so hard to keep the river in memory is something that strikes me. When the monsoons hit, so John Thompson has described it as a green veil, right, that covers our eyes. And I find that maybe speaking with more people, even across the San Luis Valley, all the way down to the Forgotten Reach, that maybe the veil is finally being drawn back in a more substantive way. We're even seeing that the rain, when it comes, or when the snowpack is better than it has been, that even that is not enough. And so that maybe the river is more held in memory, but it's so hard with this amnesia, I think, that happens in wet years and dry years. When you're in drought, you don't remember what it's like to have a running river. And when you do have a running river, you don't remember just how fragile and how close to the edge it really is.
Yeah. What about you, Diana, as you were photographing that?
I mean, for me, it's kind of like a time capsule, right? Like even people in the San Luis Valley were saying, it's beautiful now, but it was even more beautiful when we had constant rain. And so even to think about how there's so many things that we have missed because I think about it, I'm like, oh wow, if I was just capturing this a few years ago, it might have been so different. Or even just taking the photos of the Rio Grande National Forest and seeing all these dead trees, that just kind of was like a gut punch. You drive through and you see like these toothpicks just sticking out, and you're like, wow, I remember driving through here years and years before, and it was this beautiful, lush green place. And now it's like there's so many patches of just dead trees. And I don't know, it was crazy to see things actively dying before your eyes. And hopefully trying to capture as much as you can so you can share it with people, and hopefully they can also feel the disappearance happening.
Yeah. So I appreciate that the story looked across the watershed and across 3 states instead of, the way that we cover the news of the river is often very piecemeal. So I really appreciate that about this series. But I also like that so many of the stories feature people grappling with moral issues. And I'm curious what you both think that, what are the moral questions that we all need to be asking, not just a farmer, not just a water manager. What are these big moral questions we need to really grapple with?
It's so fascinating to understand the river. We kept seeing these parallels of spirituality, right? Whether it was the poetry that was invoked in people, speaking with Estella further downstream, talking about her heart being cut out, right, when the cottonwoods died around and the river dried, to then speaking with someone up in the San Luis Valley who'd never met Estella, talking about how his heart, right, was like hurt by looking at the river. It was so fascinating to see it as a connective tissue. And I think too, the huge moral questions that we are grappling with is that the river is changed by choice. It was changed by human choices, which are now being, the heat is being turned up. It's being burned, without our control, with climate change, but that too is human caused, right? So these questions are choices. All of this river this river, the way that it is now, is a choice that we're making. And I'm not saying those choices are easy. I'm not saying that changing those choices would be in any way, shape, or form easy. I just think that now, with less water, those choices on sovereignty, on agriculture, on ecology, they're staring us in the face now, and it's much more life and death.
What about you, Diane? Any last words?
Oh my goodness, I think Danny said a lot, but I think when it comes to morality, I think we just have to question. I think we have to question ourselves and say, what can I do? I don't know if this answers your question, but a lot of, some of the people that I talk to, even in other projects, they're like, I could either feel helpless and do nothing about it, and feel helpless and do something about it. And so I think right now, apart from just questioning our morality and what we can do, and seeing hopefully how these people have shared so much of their lives, and hopefully that inspire us to do our part, but to really spend time out there and see what we're about to lose. If we spend time in nature, if we spend time in it, we understand it and we feel its special presence, and we decide to fight for it.
Right. Well, thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope that you're both really proud of this series. It's really such a testament to your hard work, and really a gift to everyone who reads it. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.